Hello, dear viewers. If you find value in the stories I share, please consider subscribing to my channel. It doesn't cost a penny, but it means the world to us. Your support helps us to continue bringing you more valuable content with just one click. Thank you for being here. Start a new journey.
The night was cold. The wind was soft, but it made a strange sound. Inside the small house, Emma sat on her bed. She held a book in her hands. The lamp beside her gave a warm light. Everything was quiet. But then, she saw it. A shadow moved under the door. Emma stopped reading. Her heart beat fast. Did I really see that? She thought. She looked again. The shadow was still there. It did not move. It did not go away. She took a deep breath. Maybe it's just the wind, she told herself. But deep inside, she knew. The wind did not make shadows. Emma slowly got up. She walked to the door. Her hands felt cold. She wanted to touch the doorknob, but she stopped. The shadow moved again. It looked like feet. Someone was standing on the other side. "Who is there?" Emma whispered. No one answered. She took a step back. Her heart pounded. She wanted to run, but her feet did not move. The shadow stayed still, then it disappeared. Emma let out a small breath. Maybe it was just my imagination, she thought. She turned around, but then, knock, knock. The sound came from the door. 2 slow knocks, soft but clear. Emma froze. She did not know what to do. She looked at her phone. No messages, no missed calls. Should I open the door? She asked herself. The room felt colder. She could hear her own breathing. She touched the doorknob. It felt ice cold. Then she remembered something. Grandma once told her, "If you ever feel scared at night, count to 10 and take a deep breath." Emma closed her eyes. She counted. 1, 2, 3. She opened her eyes. The shadow was back. But this time, it moved. It slipped under the door and into her room. Emma gasped. The shadow grew taller. It stretched across the floor. It looked like a person. She took a step back. Then, another. The shadow followed. She turned around and grabbed her phone. She turned on the flashlight. The shadow stopped. Emma's hands shook. She pointed the light at the shadow. It flickered. It shook. Then, it disappeared. She stood there for a long time. Her heart was still fast. She looked at the door. She looked at the floor. The shadow was gone. Emma took a deep breath. It was just a dream, she told herself. But deep inside, she was not sure. The night felt longer. She lay in bed with the light on. She did not close her eyes. She did not sleep. But then, knock, knock. The sound came again. Emma sat up fast. Her hands felt cold. The room was quiet. but her heart was loud. She stared at the door. The shadow was gone. But the knocks. They came again. Knock. Knock. Slow. Soft. Waiting. Emma held her breath. She wanted to run, but where? The window? No, it was locked. The closet? No, too small. She had to be brave. She grabbed her phone. She texted her best friend, Jake, Emma. "Someone is at my door, but I don't see anyone." Jake saw the message. He typed fast. "Jake, call 911?" Emma swallowed. Maybe it's nothing, she thought. But deep inside, she knew something was wrong. She looked at the door. She reached for the knob. Her fingers shook. Slowly, she turned it. The door opened. The hallway was dark. No one was there. The air felt heavy, cold. It smelled different, like old wood and rain. "Hello?" Emma whispered. No answer. She stepped out. The floor creaked. The house was silent. Then, she saw something. A single shoe sat in the middle of the hallway. It was small, old, black. Emma's stomach tightened. Where did this come from? She thought. She bent down. She touched the shoe. It was wet. A whisper came from behind her. She spun around. No one. The door to her parents' room was open. They were not home tonight, but she was sure she closed that door. Emma's breathing became fast. She stepped back into her room. She locked the door. She grabbed her blanket. She sat on the bed. She did not move. Then the shadow came back. It slid under the door. Slowly, silently. Emma's eyes widened. She held her phone tight. She turned on the flashlight. The shadow stopped. It did not move. It did not leave. Then, something strange happened. The shadow spoke. Whisper filled the room. "Emma, let me in." Her breath caught. The air felt thick. "No," she whispered back. Silence. Then, knock, knock. Louder this time. Emma closed her eyes. This is not real. This is not real. But when she opened them, the shadow was closer. Emma's hands felt numb. Her fingers gripped the blanket tightly. The shadow did not move, but it was still there. Dark. Watching. Waiting. The voice whispered again. "Emma, let me in." Her throat felt dry. She could not scream. She could not speak. Then, knock, knock. This time, the door shook a little. Emma jumped. Her heart pounded against her chest. She had to do something. She opened her phone and texted Jake again. "Emma, the shadow is back. It's talking." Jake replied fast. "Jake, call the police." Emma's hand shook. She tried to dial 911, but her fingers felt heavy. The screen froze. The signal was gone. Her lamp flickered. The room felt colder. The shadow stretched toward her bed, slowly, crawling. Emma held up her flashlight. The beam of light touched the shadow. It stopped. Then it twitched. Emma's breath caught. The shadow did not disappear this time. It stayed. It shivered like it was angry. The whisper came again. But this time, it was deeper. "You can't stop me, Emma." Her stomach dropped. Her hands trembled, but she remembered something. Grandma's words. If you ever see something that should not be there, never talk to it. Never listen. Never believe. Emma took a deep breath. She turned off the flashlight. Darkness filled the room. The shadow moved fast. It rushed toward her. Emma shut her eyes. She covered her ears. She whispered to herself, "This is not real. This is not real. This is not real." The air became heavier. Her head felt dizzy. Then, silence. Everything stopped. Emma opened her eyes. The room was normal. The lamp was still on. The door was closed. The shadow was gone. She looked at her phone. The signal was back. A message from Jake. "Jake, I'm outside. Open the door." Emma jumped up. She ran to the door. She hesitated, then slowly unlocked it. Jake stood there, his face full of worry. "Emma, what happened?" She looked around. The hallway was empty. The shoe was gone. The air was warm again. Emma took a deep breath. "It's over," she whispered. Jake frowned. "Are you sure?" Emma nodded, but deep inside, she was not sure, because in the corner of the hallway, a small dark shape moved. If you love this story, like, share, and subscribe. More spooky stories are coming soon. Stay with me.